out in May, there are some copies on the piano for you. So what I would like to do as we get started, if you were on this year's Sequoyah Review staff, I would like you to stand up. Sequoyah Review is put together as part of English 3780, Literary Editing and Publishing, which happens every fall. And so if you are interested in being a part of the crew that puts this together, from the submission guidelines, which are new and out as of today, all the way through to the thing that you hold, you can. Get too excited and try to talk and breathe at the same time. But I'm also very excited we have past staff here. So if you have been on the staff in past years, I would like you to stand up. 1, 2, 3. So I'm really proud of the tradition that we are building here, and so I'm so excited for you all to be a part of it. So this is the kickoff to Meet You, and it's going to be a really great time. So I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to skip you, and I'm going to turn it over to Sybil, and we'll go from there. So thanks everybody for coming.
Hi everyone, I just wanted to officially welcome you to the first event of the Meet Your Writers Workshop. I'm so excited. In some ways this is one of the best events because you get to hear your other UTC students reading amazing work. And you too can be one of those people if you submit your work when they call for submission. So I hope this will inspire you to do that. We do have some programs of the Meacham. If you like a hard copy of your old school, we pass them around, but there's some up there as well. So feel free to grab one. If you're more of the, if you just want to look online, you can, that's obviously there. In here, we have a lot of great readings, and some of the people that are reading are here. I hope a lot of you can make the reading tomorrow, which is over on the 4th floor of the library. Karen Babine, who is the advisor for the Sequoyah Review, just talked. We are celebrating the release of her amazing book about solo travel tomorrow evening, as well as Andrea Nauberg, and then our guest writer, Andrea Yuryevac, will be in town as well to read. And then next one is there's Alex Quinlan, if you can raise your hand. He'll be reading at noon. Up to the first floor. Justin Weimer is in the back. He'll be reading as well. And I'm super excited to have Edwin Murillo, who is sitting in the back. He'll be reading Friday night. I don't know if he's going to be reading in Spanish or English or both, or we'll see. But he has a bunch of short stories that he's written, and he's a professor over in the modern languages department. And then, of course, we have Jared Steinman is also reading, who is UTC alum. So I'm super excited to also include UTC alum in the readings whenever we can. And he also does a lot of translation work and will be hopefully reading some of his own poetry as well. So that's just a bit of a preview. And I just thank you all for coming here, and I hope to see you at the other events this week. Thanks. Next is Cody.
Alrighty, hello everyone. First of all, thank you so much for coming to this Sequoyah Review reading. We only get to do a few of these every year, and so it's always really special to have people actually show up and get to hear the work that students have been producing and that we have the honor to actually publish and circulate around campus. I love working with this journal. This is my 3rd year doing it, my 2nd year as a managing editor, and I'm so proud of the work that we're actually able to do and help facilitate the voices of students and their writing around campus. I really think that Sequoyah Review is one of the most beautiful pieces of work that I have the opportunity to work on here, because it is an encapsulation of the student voice of UTC, and especially that creative student voice that matters so much to how we think and what we're perceiving in and around us. So yeah, thank you so much for everyone for coming. Then next up, I would like to invite Laura Devitt, who was the art editor this year, to talk a little bit about the art path before we get into the readings.
Hello, my name is Laura. I'm the senior art editor of Sequoyah Review. Last year I was the junior editor, and it's always an amazing process. We basically have a similar thing, but we accept art submissions from art students, and we design this book with y'all's writing and the art pieces submitted. And it's just an amazing process and outcome to be able to see students' work just compiled, and to be able to see other departments at work, especially creatively. And yeah, I'm really excited to be able to read this year's works. That's all.
Awesome. All right, so without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump into doing readings from the 2025 edition of Sequoyah Review. So first up, we're going to be having Lily Phillips reading her poem, Today I Bought a New Rug. She is a junior English creative writing major. So let's go ahead and come up.
Hi guys.
Hello.
I just want to give a quick content note. This poem does deal with like sexual coercion and assault. So,
Nothing wrong with that.
today I bought a new rug. When I picture you, it's always in my bed with you stuck to me all urchin. I'm making us sit on top of the sheets because I don't want to smell you when I sleep. We're sweating, and the breeze through the window is more clammy than comforting. You want me to shut up, probably. I can't bear to touch you. In the corner, your shoes take up too much space. You're oozing out across the hardwood. I know you'll track for perfect footprints when you leave. When you picture me, it's always cyanotype silhouettes of your hands on my neck. I smell like peaches and juniper, and you're turning me to gin that you'll sip from a flute. You watch your own reflection in my eyes, so I prop up a mirror and turn the other way. You hear my words like jazz in your ears, like syrup on your tongue, because there aren't any words. They've refused to form on my lips. You've torn no right out the dictionary. The rug was on sale because its edges were torn. I put it by my bed so that soft would be the first thing I felt when I stood each morning. Reflection has a tendency to feel like make-believe. Maybe I was no one then. Maybe you've forgotten me. Nonetheless, when I feel that shag on my toes, I don't worry about footprints anymore, about drinking from the right glass. I don't worry about smells that aren't mine or words that aren't yes.
All right, next up we have Lynn Victoria, who is a sophomore English creative writing and gender studies major, and she will be reading one of the two poems she published with us last year, Scaredy Cat.
Hi. This is Scaredy Cat. I shaved yesterday. I propped my leg on the toilet and put Requiem for a Dream on my laptop and shaved myself clean and pretty. Can I still call myself a feminist if I shaved my vagina for a guy? I lathered myself and watched the hand chip away at the fur. I went over each section over and over until I had nicks on my bikini line. Until I looked in the mirror, maybe I was prepubescent again, bare and treasured. I remember shaving for those men who loved me clean and pretty. They pretended I was 7, sometimes I did too. I looked in the mirror, a hairless cat I looked, a scared feral one at that. You're a pretty painting in a gallery and I'm afraid to touch you. Your fingers are the dullest hooks and you arch so confidently.
My fingers are matches, latching onto anything, and fire starting without consent. Before I know it, I've burned my favorite bridges. Dark ash surrounds me, staring disappointedly. But you're a canvas in a gallery behind no such room. The only swatch of color on the wall, like accidental blood on white bed sheets. I'm afraid I don't want to be without you. Your name springs off my tongue every time I go to speak. Your beauty is etched into my frontal lobe, Ferris wheeling up and down. It goes vivid, then blurry, then crystal clear like a wine glass. My heat-wave hands threaten to shatter you. You talk about race eloquently on a couch that is not mine. I'm making you breakfast. I know how you like your coffee. Maybe you could do this for a long while. Maybe I could do this for a long while, a year or a handful of years. Oh, silly girl, longevity will elude you. You are simply undeserving. You simply will screw up. Expect this ending. Sometimes I lie awake at night, trying to predict how I will hurt you someday. My intentions are ever loving, but I fear my own power. The magnitude of the load in the wind, it feels unstoppable. I try to cope with this thought, still it kills me. I'm taller than most of my platforms. I feel minuscule. Driving up the walls, doing donuts on the ceiling, do not be mistaken, I lead a petrified prance. Every boundless leap is the product of hesitation, the instinctual type. Sometimes, unsurprisingly, I want to be told what to do, and I want to do it dog-like. Being intelligent is sickening. People prodding you with theses and living, expecting you to do better than your peers. I don't see how you work so endlessly, click-clacking on your little keyboard, cranking out assignments, you extraordinary machine. Forever, I yearn for a mental blank. I see an opportunity for void, and I snatch it up with a snarl. It is mine. I have earned this. I know I am not worthless or stupid, but I dream of you calling me such, emptying my borders cosmic mind. I know what you are, but if you need to be mean to me. I can take the torment. I'm sorry. I'm sore. Can you stop?
Next up, we're going to be having Caroline Kelly, who is also a CNF staff member for the Sequoyah Review this year. She will be reading her essay, 1 Foot in a Ditch.
I was born with 1 foot on a mountain and 1 foot in a ditch, fingers entangling Georgia but clawing at Tennessee. I was told that if looking through binoculars or careful eyes, you could see 7 states. But I often found myself on top of Lover's Leap, squinting, heels hovering, not looking for states at all. Instead, I would think of those lovers who left, and I would wonder if things would have been different if the states had been able to see them back. This mountain is scattered with fairy tales and shrouded by religion, though these two things overlap and cohabitate. I would stumble from cottage to church, wondering what made God real, yet Peter Pan fake. My infancy was spent on Woodnymph Trail, a crooked, yellow-hued street, shaded by trees, haunted by fairies. This house is blurry when I grasp at its image, but sometimes when I stare too long at a printed picture, I can feel my feet, bare and small, creeping over the black and white tile of my kitchen. I would creep and listen to the whispered conversations of my parents, though they were wary of this and would often spell words rather than speak them. Maybe it wasn't her fault. Maybe it was an accident. I interrupted the overheard conversation this time. I stood at the edge of the kitchen, and I felt the unrelenting urge to defend this nameless woman to my parents. Earlier that night, my dad brought me and my sister to shop for groceries at the base of the mountain. It was cold outside, rainy, and the thunder shook the mountain's wet roads as if they were made of jello. There was a car that night, and it threw us into a ditch. "Is everyone okay?" My dad turned his head around slowly, as if he was scared to check. "No, I'm not okay, actually," I said sarcastically, holding up my finger, injured from a paper cut from the day before. I did not yet understand why this was not funny. I did not yet understand the reason for the shake in my dad's voice, and only knew I should try to study it with a joke. Later, my bare feet clinging to the cold kitchen floor, I heard my parents whispering profanities, cursing the woman who pushed us into that ditch. The concept of blame was foreign to me, and I knew that woman never meant to hit us. At that moment, I felt in my bones an urge, a need to defend this woman, so I spoke up. Maybe it wasn't her fault. Maybe it was an accident. Their whisperings cut off and their heads turned to me. My mom's mouth opened, but she hesitated, as if weighing my childlike opinion with her own. It was her fault. You're just too young to understand something like this. I know now this woman was at fault, but I lived in a world where blame was not mine to give, where fault was left to the rain, not the driver. I'd yet to realize my foot remained in that wet and muddy ditch, not making its way up the mountain with the rest of me. My mom left the mountain soon after that, though she could not take me with her, as half of me still belonged to my dad. So I returned to that mountain every week, residing in a cottage now, a small cottage that to me seemed to be the previous residence of Hansel and Gretel. I did not like this cottage, as its walls scratched me as I ran past, and its air smelled of dust and fireplace ash. I spent most of my time by the creek on which it stood, dipping my feet in the cold water and whispering stories of witches and fairies into my sister's ears. We often visited a neighboring castle, eating under a portrait of Peter Pan. He's carved in stone, trapped to forever hold his flute to his lips, and cursed to never play. I would sit under him and listen to my grandparents tell stories of enchanted forests and garden gnomes, or of Judas and Adam and Eve. I would sit under poor Peter encased in stone at night and poor Jesus crucified on the cross in the mornings, and they would mutate together in my mind, blending fable and doctrine until I could no longer decipher the lines in which they divide. I returned to the mountain every week, every time a little older and a little more cynical. I began to feel like a robot built by environment, not being. My parts were faulty and they were rusting and crumbling under my touch. The day I found my foot in the ditch was a beautiful one. I was again in the car with my dad and sister, driving down the mountain. There was a bike race that day, a long one, and its path went up over 3 mountains. At the start of our descent, I gazed out my window and locked eyes with one of the bikers. He was younger than my dad, but not by much. He was wearing a blue so bright that its vibrancy could be seen from several cars away. As we began to drive, he began to pedal. If he keeps going that fast, he's going to crash, Dad said wearily, though his words lacked the seriousness to cause alarm. But I knew the crooked and treacherous turns of the mountain too well, and I was beginning to trust my thoughts over the voices of those taller. As we turned the corner, the biker had vanished. We found him in the ditch, twisted and bloody. "Don't look, please close your eyes, please pray," my dad pleaded as he jumped out of the car and into the ditch. I did not close my eyes, I did not pray. Praying to me was just a story or a fable, and I had never been able to tell the difference. I did not close my eyes, I did not pray, I watched. I watched as my dad paced in the ditch, his phone pressed tightly to his ear as he conversed with 911. I watched as a stranger gave the bloody biker CPR, and I watched as his limp body failed to move. My sister did pray desperately, frantically. Her praying annoyed me, it frustrated me. I wanted her to live too. The ambulance came shortly after, and my dad returned to the car, pale and trembling. He did not look back at us. "He didn't make it," he said quickly, his voice hoarse, and we drove away silently. It was here that I had finally realized the grossness of life, and it came down on me with the quickness of a guillotine's blade. And it was here that I found my foot, and I knew that I had to accept it. I knew I had to stand 2 feet on the ground, no longer dangling, hovering, clouded by fairy tales. I never walked up that mountain again. That mountain dissipated, dissolved. In place stood a new one, and this mountain no longer shook. It no longer trembled.
Next up will be University. They're second year here at UTC, and they are currently a psychology major, and they will be reading their poem, Nostalgia.
Go side majors.
Nostalgia. Now, one. The craving for days gone past, times that were less complicated. Two. That one book you read when you were 12 that you still can't find. 3. Nostalgia. The drug for people who don't do drugs. Give a generation one of their favorite kids' shows as a reboot and watch the money pour in. We seek out memories of better times, dreaming of days with no bills or taxes, when you didn't know the government could screw up, when your best friend of 8 years and partner, almost 2, hadn't abandoned you at graduation, when your grandma was still here to give hilariously unwarranted opinions and hugs that make you feel just a little bit better. Nostalgia is always rooted in grief, because you can't miss things that you didn't already lose.
Next, we will be having Clara Paulson, who is a junior communications major here at UTC, read her poem, Colors of My Childhood.
All right, this is Colors of My Childhood. My grandma's house had purple velvet couches, and I had purple stained palms, mulberry dye, and piney walnut perfume, the sort of scent that seeps into your skin and stays. You admired the porcelain precious moments behind glass walls and collected ivory hickory nuts behind the shed. I still feed some to the flames from time to time for a taste of October-flavored smoke. I heard you play beneath golden ginkgo trees at the Greenleaf House, but I remember Hickson's glossy buttercups instead, and this one July night when fireflies set a hemlock ablaze. But the voices of summer were always free. Tattered katydid and jade cicadas singing of rising wind, falling rain, and children dancing through backyard sprinklers with green grass glued to their feet.
All right, next we're going to be having Lynn White, who is a second year biology major, and they will be reading their poem, What Every Insect Collector Should Know.
This is what every insect collector should know after Brian Turner. June brings many entities, all adrift in the edge of your day-to-day as you go building to building in search of the train's boarding step, with or without a friend as guide. Awareness of your surroundings will be key to your success for the next few months. Concrete structures with sidewalks and ledges are frequent sites of death. A library with staircases leading to locked doors or seamless surfaces rock the power of industry. All you need is a little jar or tin to be their undertaker, clean up the newfound back alleys. A net is good to catch the living. Hornets, wasps, the terrifying big as your thumb cicada killer, on deadly missions, all zooming. Just make sure to let them go after for ethical reasons. Acetone-saturated cotton in a jar makes for excellent euthanasia and keeps joints limber. By pins and styrofoam, we are aesthetic creatures and desire symmetry. Line up limbs as if the grape leaf beetle on your grandfather's porch struck a perfect pose, one final animation. Your mother's pincushion was a mushroom, but you have a slab to echo nature's intricacies. When your Lucanus capreolus dies, mandibles frozen like the antlers of a great stag staring in the snow, pinning may seem barbaric, like an old lady stuffing past dogs well loved. Just put them in a box for a few months, let the feeling of please God move wear off. Ask trusted friends to aid in the hunt if they're adequately eclectic, and show your appreciation. Holy calculator, I can't believe you found a perfectly dead Dachshund fly in your gazebo. If your friends find this strange, you may need to rerun your initial life checks. Mites destroy work. The aforementioned acetone jar is a widely used solution, even if it will never bring back that old blue-lidded pencil jar jammed full of all that learning done circa 09. This solution is known as a relaxing chamber. Don't dwell on the socio-historical implications. Your oldest specimens will open windows to those early days. Weightless, forested eyes run where the most mysterious of time's creations lay in wait. What beautiful eyes, checkered gray. Don't let the memories slip. Let them stack to remind you how that kettle black train keeps rolling.
Alrighty, for the last 4 years we have, it is going to be the current genre editors for the 2026 edition of Sequoyah Review. First up, we're going to be having Sage Jackson, who is currently our creative nonfiction editor, and was also published in Sequoyah Review last year with both a creative nonfiction essay and a poem. Read her essay, A Trip to Memphis.
A trip to Memphis. I am 20 years old, which naturally situates me in between things. I can permanently scar my skin with needlepoint artwork if I so choose, yet can't rent a car. The United States of America trusts me to help choose its next leader, yet my roommate doesn't trust me to carry her cup of coffee across the freshly mopped hardwood floor. I can't sip wine at Wednesday night jazz, yet the insurance company can't talk to my mother without my permission about things I don't understand. Things I don't understand. Taxes, medical expenses, the inner workings of my old guzzling 2016 Kia Soul, iambic pentameter, AI's appeal, traffic laws, rice and how to cook it, scientific terminology, taxes. I may be young and stuck, but there is one thing I'm certain of. Where I am now is nowhere like where I came from. Chattanooga is comfortably nestled in what some may call God's country. No matter how you turn your head, the purple, finger-painted ridge of the mountains never escapes your peripheral. Here, people keep their toes out and climb rocks and never have to drive more than a mile and a half for an overpriced artisanal coffee. Back home, if I were to mention something about Blundstones, I'd get blessed and handed a wadded up Kleenex. Back home is 5 hours away from God's country and into what might be known as his down-tish bathroom, Kenton, Tennessee. About an hour and a half north of Memphis, the closest well-known city, and 10 miles of back roads from the universal concept uptown. Kenton is beautiful in its own simplistic, practical way, but the lingering smell of shit in the air subtracts its appeal from any potential visitors. Fertilizer for the crops, miles and miles of it. These fields are where my family originates, where houses pop up sporadically like picturesque warts, like little white clapboard things with concrete porches and screen doors and back gardens filled to Eden in the sun. One such house belonged to Colorado Mama Gladys, and theirs came with an overly stocked wood stove and without a telephone of any kind. My great-grandparents died when my dad was 16. I never got the privilege of meeting them or visiting their 3 rooms perched in front of a circle drive, but my dad knew them and knew them well. He and his cousins were there 3 or 4 nights a week, being boys, kids together, laughing and playing paper football for hours at a time. Therefore, I only know them by the things my dad told and repeated while we ate supper, years later, between mouthfuls of sweet tea and laughter. Here in my Chattanooga rental, the kitchen island is used for flowers and keys. Back home, the kitchen table is for domino games and yellowing placemats. It's where paper towels catch hush puppy grease and corn is buttered to a shine. It's where memory lane starts, leads, and ends up after a slice of cake. Paul Rob was a little man who didn't like to wear his teeth. He'd pull his chin up to his nose at the table and make the kids laugh. Then Gladys would scold them for their bad manners. Gladys could give a heck of a whooping. She was the stouter of the two. She made the best biscuits. She couldn't hear thunder, and Paul Rob would talk gibberish to her just to hear her go, "What?" They died 6 months apart from each other. Gladys from a broken heart, we suppose.
Words resurrected them, though. One of Dad's favorite stories to tell, and Uncle Tudor's favorite to hear, was the one about his trip to Memphis as a kid. He'd go like this. It was hot in July in the mid-1970s. I was about 7 or 8. Me, Lee, Wendy, and Dina, and Melanie were all playing in the front yard out at Park Rock Mom Gladys, just sweating. And we ain't never been nowhere in our life because nobody had any money back then. So when Paul Rock came out there and hollered, y'all want to go to Memphis? We were all like, heck yeah, we want to go to Memphis. So he said, all right, y'all get in the truck. So we all loaded up in the truck. Me, Lee, and Dina in the back end, and Wendy and Melanie sat up in front and the cab was him. It was one of those old, little bitty, I could just about pick up the back end of it now, I'm sure, 72 Toyota Datsuns. Well, Paul Rob comes out and he gets in the truck and starts it. And they had that circle driveway. You could just go in one end and drive around to the other. Well, Paul Rob takes about 6 laps around that circle drive and parks the truck under the big oak tree out in the front yard. All right, y'all get out. Here it is. Y'all don't wander off too far and get lost now. Gladys will have supper ready before long. Everybody was fighting mad after that, groaning and stomping off. Paul Rob just sat down in his all-metal yard chair and offered everyone a cold drink. I sat down next to him. I was the only one not mad. Ooh, sure is hot out here today, he said. He cuts his eye at me. You want a soda pop? Yeah, I'll take one. Nobody else wanted one. So he reaches over in his pretend cooler, opens the lid. He reaches his hand over like this, like he's holding a Coke bottle and pops the lid on it too. It fizzes everywhere. He makes some noises with his mouth. He hands it over to me and I take a big old swig of it. And that's how we spent the rest of the afternoon in Memphis. While Wendy was in the house pouting, we sat in the yard sipping Coke. I've heard this story no less than 67 times and I still laugh, mainly because Dad always starts laughing first. He's a great storyteller. Ink and paper do nothing for reflection. Something about the way he would slow syllables and raise his eyebrows and chuckle, like he was the only one in on a private joke, brought Paul Rob back to the table with us. At 20 years old, I still have to rely on the stories of others. I have yet to live long enough for things worth telling, so I soak up the things told and retold. Interesting by association. Osmosis. I couldn't tell you just how Paul Rob's mouth looked when he smiled or how Mom and Gladys looked once she got ready for church, but there's one thing I've realized is as certain as the difference between mountain and cornfield. No cup of coffee in Chattanooga will ever be as good as the ice-cold Coca-Cola under the oak tree.
Next up, we're going to be having our poetry editor for this year, Alaska Lawson, who is a junior English literature studies and anthropology major, and she will be reading Addison McMullen's poem, Fruits.
I must taste good, seeing as my name stays in your mouth, like a lemon drop you just won't spit out. I must look so good, seeing as you cut me down every day. I'm like a sliced apple with some peanut butter, dressing up that way. You chip away, day by day, week by week. I deal with it, because I'm sugary sweet. When you talk to me, you pause to suck your teeth. It makes an awful noise. I know it's got to be me. My strawberry seeds stuck right in your gums. It must be so annoying when I hold the gun. I'm like an orange, a little sour. A nice snack you seem to devour. I'm crazy like a nectarine. Stay sweet, then make you pucker. I beg to speak my truth, but you're one cool motherfucker. So sit down and obey. I guess I'll listen. But let me ask, what does my peanut butter have to do with this professional kitchen? How awful you must feel when you go to peel and you find that their fruit is nearly rotten. What you feed is what you get. You must have forgotten. You take the inside and leave the peel a torn mess. She sits in the trash with no one to impress. Where she is forced to reside, she finds peace.
And now we're going to be having Meg Weems, who is this year's fiction editor. She is an English literature studies and Spanish major, and she will be reading Alison Lipschitz's essay, World Home.
I'm looking through my dusty and blotchy upstairs window, and I see that my deserted street looks like a map stained with damp spots as land, with the pavement more like water. It must have rained earlier. The grass in front of my home looks chopped too short, a square of stark green where all the dandelions used to be. I think I heard the whirring of a mower this morning. I've just now sat on the edge of my bed, and my sheets feel damp too, with wrinkles like chaotic lawn strippings or uncrumpled paper, or an aged woman, or the ocean rippling. They fit and hug the corners of my bed, but my sunken mattress makes the fabric cover like a tarp cover. My toes feel cold, and they make me think of little penguins getting ready to jump, or icebergs ready to break and float off into the sea of hair and crumbs on my itchy Herbert carpet. I'm looking up again and towards the empty mailbox, and then to the stump where the hackberry tree used to be. It hung over me like a canopy while I dreamed, but now my eyes are limited by everything down the road, and even at night, I can see the entire neighborhood. Some days I mentally curse the sun as it radiates and casts down on my roof, but now it's only flashing in and out of those mushy mountains in the sky. It's my overhead light that's watching me now. I should really go turn it off. It's glaring, and I don't remember why it's on. Oh, I was gonna wash my hands. My fingertips are coated from eating greasy chips, like I'm a pirate that's been poking through a treasure chest. I put them under the tap, which runs so fast it's unclear, but soon enough my nails are shining like stars. I guess I should wash the dishes, as they've been sitting there for a while. I shoved my soap-filled sponge into the small mug they gave me, fisting it around, which makes a silly squeaking sound. It reminds me of those angry squirrels that scaled branches and made me laugh. As the waterfall fills the depression in my hands, a bubbling volcano rises, leaving the dishes crystal clean before my eyes. I'm done washing my plates and push them left from the sink, knocking my mug to the tile where it shatters loudly by my feet. I pause and then sigh, turning to find a broom. I am bouncing down my shadowy hall and down each step of my fuzzy stairs. Now I'm trying to spin around on the hardwood, but all of my socks are dirty and the floor is sticky from when I tried mopping yesterday. My stomach feels tight. I probably need a real meal. I turn towards the kitchen and see that the back door is open, swaying slowly in the breeze. I must have forgotten to close it. I'm taking wavering steps toward the backyard where I see leaves blowing through the air, chasing each other as they fall like playful children. I open the freezer and stare at a pack of peas sitting slumped over and alone against the wall. I slowly shut the freezer and quickly close the back door. I run through my home and back up the stairs, sprinting past my broken cup through crowded, dark boxes that line the baseboards. Walking back into my bedroom, I flick the switch on the wall down, but the now overcast sky still gives my room color. My fan is turning slowly and I feel its whispers, the evening breeze. I breathe in and feel my heart thumped at the equator. The rivers and valleys spread down my veiny arms. I scratch my scalp and watch the snowfall. I grab my book and curl up in the hollow of my barren bed, laying on my side as my arm slowly begins to fizzle and fall asleep. I've been here a while, and my feet are so cold that they feel numb, almost like they may not be real. My knees stick out like useless bumpers that would pop off with any impact. Words from the page in front of me leap to the stage in my mind, ripening with its evermore spring. The scenes remind me of places I've rarely seen, but I know that it can't be me.
Alrighty, and I will be reading our last piece for the evening. It is going to be Anniversary by our lovely CNF editor, Sage Jackson. First of all, before I get to reading this, I just want to thank everyone one more time for taking the time to come out here and listen to the work of our students. Anniversary. His love for her was like the borrowed suit he married her in. So big that his cotton field chest couldn't fill it out entirely. Around his neck, the polyester blend, hugging his pulse, she kissed him there, felt completely foreign. 60 years, and an afro, blue linoleum, cat-eyed reading glasses, a Bible creased to the book of Acts, the cup long dissolved, its living pages thin and transparent. As life pinned over in blue, Wheel of Fortune, Elvis Presley, a factory job, and bloated ankles, domino games, green-eyed kids who grew to know a love not moth-eaten by young nights in 2 rooms, a love not frayed by living in front of a dying wood stove and off of recycled board. Their kids had breakfast. They tasted the earthy tang of clay. They heard the explosive molasses of revival licked homemade mauve off their mother's index finger. 60 years, and still, the suit doesn't fit. Thank you again to everyone for coming out. I'm going to hand it back over to Dr. Baylock in just a moment, but I also wanted to say, if all of you could follow Sequoyah Review on Instagram, we are posting like a ton of stuff there this year. Our lovely social media editor, Bella Preston, is doing a ton of work for us, and it's really doing all this year. So we have our guidelines posted up there soon. We also have introductions to our editors coming out as well. Without further ado, I'll leave it to Dr. Baylock to finish things off.
I just want to say that it is one thing to read a text on a page. It is another thing entirely to hear it read.
Fucking A.
And so this is one of the best things about the creative writing and the creativity that we have at UTC is that we can hear it just the way that the author intended it. And then we can hear it in a way that readers can hear it. And so it's the coolest thing. So I'm so excited. It was such a great reading. So thanks all of you for being here. I'm going to close with a couple of housekeeping things. If you would please find one of the officers of the Creative Writing Club as you exit to, they're waving over there. With your phone, scan the QR code that they will give you so we have attendance records of things so we know how many people were here. And the last thing is we would like you to pick up your chair. And where did the carts go?
The carts are under the piano,
they're
we'll bring
there.
them out, but if you could just sort of stack them up, and we need roughly 3 stacks of the chairs here. Not all of them, it should be about 13, 14 chairs per stack.
That would help us out a lot. So thanks so much for coming. Enjoy your evening, and hopefully we will see you tomorrow night at that meeting.